posted this article about me. There's a picture, and the name of the article was 10 restaurants that are vegan that don't know it.
Celebrity chef Mark Kalix.
The old Chef Mark, our buddy, Chef Mark Kalix.
We have celebrity chef Mark Kalix.
Welcome back to the channel, friends. I'm here to tell you the story of how I accidentally became a vegan chef. I was working at this cafe many years ago. I'm here in Denver, and in one of the suburbs of Denver, there was a cafe that needed a chef, and I needed a job. This is right at the height of the economic downturn, and finding a job was next to impossible. Not like nowadays where everybody's advertising, now hiring $22 an hour, basic labor. Gosh, when I moved to Denver, the city was flourishing, and therefore the opposite problem. Finding a good paying job was tricky. At the time, an executive chef, the average salary in Colorado was $38,000 a year, if you can believe that. And that would mean 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hour days every day. And it was hard to really find a place to connect with. So I find this job at this little cafe, a busy but small cafe, maybe sat 60 people. And it was known for high-end craft tea blends, coffee, tea trays, and its clientele when I got there was kind of the doily crowd. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it wasn't a very robust business. They did a ton of lunch, and then it just kind of was dead the rest of the day. So I made a concerted effort to add brunch, to switch the kitchen around, to make the kitchen far more functional. It was kind of set up as a hobby tea shop. If you've ever seen a hobby tea shop, you know what I'm talking about. There may be a little lunch counter and a lady making a sandwich or two. We needed production. So I revamped the entire kitchen, and I really made sure that we were able to be sustainable, repeatable. So the owner, who is nice enough to give me a job, and actually her and I worked very well together. She wasn't doing great, and she asked me to help standardize everything. So I cut costs. Simple thing. She was buying backfin crab meat, which was $25 a pound, and I like, well, if we just buy the Phillips claw meat, which is $12 a pound, we're going to have a similar product, but for half the food cost. She didn't know. There's a thing that affects people, and it's the thought that I'm good at eating, therefore I'll be good at running a restaurant. Anthony Bourdain talks about this in Kitchen Confidential. Steps to avoid, and one of them is never work for a restaurant where the owners name the restaurant after themselves. That's held true throughout my entire career. Or avoid working for somebody who's never worked in or owned a restaurant before. And I had to step away from that advice and work for both of those kind of restaurant owners because I needed a job, and I thought I could help this owner. And to an extent I did, and I'm glad I worked there because I learned a lot. I really learned a lot about being a better chef, a better manager, but also how to kind of work around the restrictions of an inexperienced restaurant owner. So I'll tell you what the restrictions were and how I ended up accidentally becoming a vegan chef. She said, okay, let's get the food cost down to 22%. So for every dollar that comes into the restaurant, 22% of that, let's just round up to 25% goes towards food. Now that would just be the food on the plate, not the plates, not the napkins, not the labor, not the drink cost, beverage cost, not the soap to wash the dishes. And I was really happy with that. At 22 or 25%, I could run a nice kitchen with good food. I'd never had to worry about running out of things. That wasn't good enough for her. She wanted to make slimmer margin. But I couldn't raise the prices. You either got to raise the prices or you got to cut back somewhere. She decided 25% or 22% was going to be the cost for all kitchen expenses. So soap, paper towels, aprons, you name it. I mean, so that shaved almost 10 points off. So now I'm trying to be doing this kitchen I'm running on, trying to run it on like 12 or 13% food cost. It was next to impossible. So when I pointed this out to her that this is not the standard at which restaurants run, she said, "That's your problem." Okay, you're right, that is my problem. So the way I got around that was I rewrote the menu so that anything that resembled a protein was an extra charge. So you had Caesar salad, it was Caesar dressing, romaine lettuce, croutons, which quite frankly, because of the gluten-free trend, most people avoided croutons, so great, save a couple pennies. You wanted cheese, that was an extra cost. You wanted chicken, that was an extra cost. We had a grilled chicken sandwich, most expensive menu item. Even though it didn't cost us that much to make, I made sure it was the most expensive menu item to reduce the amount of people who ordered it so that I could drive my profitability and actually have enough food for ingredients. I mean, we would get the truck, let's say, in on Monday, like Cisco or US Food, whoever we used. They all do a great job, quite frankly. And the order would come in, and by Wednesday, that was supposed to last me till Friday. By Wednesday, I was running out of food because we didn't have enough money to buy groceries. Lo and behold, sure enough, the strategy worked. Majority of our dishes were vegetarian and actually vegan as well, because I stopped cooking in, let's say, butter to make soup. I would use oil. Those were the kind of tricks I could do to save a couple pennies here and a couple pennies there, and make sure that I was having enough groceries to make it through the week. Well, the strategy is working, and one day I'm out in the dining room, I'm dropping off some food to a table. All the servers were busy, we were packed, it was brunch time. I'm helping out in the dining room where I can, and I see this young lady. She's sitting at a table by herself, and she's tucking into my gamacha soup, my matcha vegetable soup. Gamacha, for those that don't know, is a tea that is matcha with toasted rice, and it's got this really nice toasted flavor. The gamacha, the Japanese gamacha tea, has a slight, almost like oceany, briny flavor. It's delicious. Well, I discovered that if you take this tea and you make a broth and add some roasted vegetables, that you had this taste, flavor like chicken broth, like chicken stock. You wouldn't believe it. It was fantastic. And I discovered this purely accidental because I ran out of chicken stock one day, and I'm like, I gotta use something. And by using tea in my ingredients, I didn't have to count that into my food cost, so it was one more way to save a couple pennies on, so I could buy like lettuce, tomatoes, things that were important. She's sitting there eating this, and she says, "Are you sure this is vegan?" And I'm like, 100% sure. She goes, "It tastes too good. It tastes just like chicken stock." And I said, "Ma'am, I promise you it is 100% vegan, and we're proud of that." Well, I looked out at her table, and she's got a magazine open, and it's a national publication. And there are restaurants in Atlanta, LA, Miami, and here we are, this humble little cafe. Some editor or food writer stumbled upon us and took the time to write a nice article saying, we're not purely vegan. Yes, there could be some cross-contamination because they have, they grill chicken and they do other things. But Chef Mark has figured out how to make a menu chock full of 70% vegan items that you're going to love. And they came in many times, asked a lot of questions to the servers. I glanced through the article. They really did a lot of research. And here I am, one of the top 10 vegan restaurants, according to this magazine, in the country that don't know they're vegan. And I didn't know I was running a vegan restaurant. I had no idea. And I open my eyes and I look around the dining room, and almost everybody sitting in the dining room was tucking into one of our vegan options. The menu was written as such that the entire menu was vegan, and then the meat options were called out, whereas typically it's the other way around, where it'll say a little VG, vegan option, or vegetarian, it'll be like a leaf or something. We had the opposite. If something had meat in it, if it wasn't vegan, we had a little like a little cow icon, like a little chicken or a cow, just to point out, like, for you vegetarians, please don't eat this, or for you vegans, please don't eat this. And the servers were really well versed in this as well because they wanted to upcharge chicken and cheese to drive their ticket price so that they could get tipped on a higher amount, which is how restaurants work. If you don't know that, that's why servers are always saying, hey, you want to order of onion rings for the table? Great, get another $8 worth of potential tip there. So at the end of the day, I think my biggest takeaway I learned from working there, beyond the limitations of not having any resources as far as money to buy groceries, having limited amount of space, storage, staff. It was a hard place to work because we were always on the razor edge of profitability. We never, I didn't have access to the books, but what my gut was telling me, I've been in the business for over 30 years, what my gut was telling me is we were always on the edge of really making it. We were just one big week away from really having the opportunity to maybe open a second location or being bought up by a franchise. Who knows? Who knows what the grand plans were or are. I believe they're still in business. Learning how to take the knowledge that I have as a chef who adores gravy and butter and bacon, beef, and all the bees, and taking that skill set and turning it into food that anybody can eat, anybody with any dietary restriction, whether it's gluten or shellfish or if you have a voluntary food restriction like veganism, how to make sure that those different audiences have a hearty meal on their plate without having to resort to tricks, what I call tricks, like tempeh or seitan or these meat replacements. You don't need to replace anything. You just need to take the knowledge you have, and this is for you, the home cook that I'm talking to, the knowledge that you have, and don't replace anything. Just eliminate or change or get creative. You'd be surprised just how easy it is. You too can become a vegan chef. This is Chef Mark. Thanks for tuning in.